Well, welcome back to Panorama of the Bible Online. We now move into session 8. It's tragic. This is supposed to be a very sad note in our Panorama timeline. We've come off of Kingship United, where we have Saul, David, and Solomon. And at the death of Solomon in 931 BC, we see the split of the kingdom with Israel in the north and Judah in the south. And we had you memorize in session number 7, the kingship divided, the dates of we might say the ending of Israel in the north and Judah in the south, or their captivity or their exiles. And now we're going to look in detail at those exiles, and therefore we call this particular movement the exile, because now we're going to pick the story up from where those two notches ended in 722 and 586. And especially we're going to trace the southern kingdom of Judah. We're going to look quickly at Israel, but the timeline is going to pick up Judah and then a remnant of what's left of the northern tribes of Israel. So here's the timeline. Here's what it looks like. It's going to be a little bit different, a little more unique as we look at this particular part of the timeline. The timeline moves into a box. And the way I want you to think about it is the people of Israel, Judah, find themselves stuck or enslaved or jailed in exile. They're carried off and boxed in exile. And the acronym that we remember this exile from is LEP. I recognize that's not a real acronym, it's not a real word, but just commit to memory these 3 letters, LEP, L-E-P. The L is trying to help us remember the length of this exile, and it's going to be 70 years. The E is the empires that are over the people of Judah at this time. It's going to be Babylon and Persia. And then lastly, the P stands for prophets. So length, empires, prophets. The prophets are going to be Ezekiel, and it's going to be Daniel, and then we put Jeremiah. Jeremiah is kind of a prophet before, during, and after the exile. That's why he's in parentheses. We have 2 more dates for you to remember. 539, and the name you're going to remember is Cyrus. Cyrus is the king of Persia, and he will take over the kingdom of Babylon. Our panorama timeline and the biblical narrative is going to be intersecting with real events and real history. It always is, but here we're going to have some of those real non-Jewish people intersecting with our story, and that first one's going to be Cyrus, king of Persia. And then in 516, we're going to have the temple rebuilt in Jerusalem. And so there's our timeline: LEP, L-E-P, length, empires, prophets, and then 539 and 516. If you turn to page 138, this is a really, really helpful chart. I might even ask you, figure out a way to take this chart and put it in your Bible. Make these work for you, but this chart has a lot of material. It's taking a huge amount of the biblical story and condensing it down to where you can see it. Now notice, our kingship united and divided what took place in 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. And the location for that is the people are in the land. And you can see we had our united and divided kingdom. Now we're moving into exile. You can see the primary books that are noted there. And then lastly, we're going to have our return from exile, which will be next movement, and that's going to be Ezra and Nehemiah. The book of Esther takes place in exile, and that's what we're going to see next time. And so this chart helps you and me to orient our minds around the big narrative and also where all the books fall in that narrative. So if you're ever sitting down to study Ezekiel or Daniel or Chronicles or one of these books, or Ezra, Nehemiah, it's helpful to know, okay, Nehemiah is in the return from exile part. So what am I expecting in Nehemiah? People returning from exile. And that's going to help me know what's going on when we study these books. And so this chart is really helpful for you and for me. And now we'll dive in to the exile movement. Take a look.